It's 8:42. There is no sign of survivors from a passenger plane which crashed in China yesterday. It was carrying 132 people on a domestic flight when it crashed into hills in the south of the country. We're joined by travel expert Eoghan Corry. Eoghan, this was China Eastern flight number MU5735. And we don't obviously know why it crashed yet, but my goodness, it just plunged out of the sky very quickly.
Oh, a terrible human tragedy, Audrey, and an industry tragedy as well, because 2017, 2018, we were getting into a position where we were going through an entire 12 months without a single commercial aircraft tragedy. Now, the two Boeing Max crashes put an end to that. And the first thing to be said about this is that it wasn't a Max, it was the 737-800, which wouldn't have the same issues that the Max had. It is also not quite clear how the flight path developed. It plunged very quickly, as you say, to 30,000 feet down to about 10,000. It does seem to have some element of recovery, of gaining of altitude, and then plunged again. But remember, other things could have. These are the readings that were taken from the ground. So something like barometric pressure being misread by a ground station could suggest that that second climb mightn't have been there. But what we're looking at the moment is like the front of a W, big plunge, then an attempt to recover it, and then another plunge.
And it's the first passenger plane crash in China in nearly a decade, isn't it?
Passenger plane crashes are, as I said, almost a thing of the past. To the extent, I mean, back in our childhood, there would have been 7 or 8 a year, and it's a very heavily regulated industry. We are very good at it in Ireland. The maintenance is seriously checked and tested, and when something like this happens, it sends reverberations everywhere. Was it aircraft failure? We have bits of the aircraft that became detached, but it's not quite clear, and it won't be clear for a long time, whether things like the tail coming off, parts of the winglets, the wings coming off, did they come off before it went into its decline or during its descent, because the aircraft wasn't designed for the sort of speed it achieved on its descent. It was almost supersonic speed as it descended to the ground.
And Boeing, as you say, it's not the Max, it's a different plane this time, but their share price took a tumble and fell significantly yesterday because they had to ground their Boeing Max, didn't they, for quite some time after those other 2 plane crashes.
It was a commercial disaster for Boeing and a reputational disaster, because it emerged that one of the things they did with the Max was they installed software systems which overrode what the pilots were trying to do, and they seem to have done that to get some sort of competitive advantage, because the 737 was falling a little bit behind against the Airbus 320 for sales. So it was exactly the betrayal of what had made Boeing a great company in the past. So people would be looking at this again and saying, what is up there? Well, what's there? Is there a design issue here? There were Mac trim issues way back in the 90s, and there were were the design flaws in the aircraft which caused this to happen.
Okay.
But we're a long way off any conclusions, and needless to say, the internet, as it always does, is heaving with possibilities and theories.
Eoghan, thank you very much. Eoghan Corry, travel expert.